Hey, welcome back, everyone. It is time for another red hot cover call video. Well, hey, look, we are back behind the mic, fired up because we're talking about the poor man's covered call. In my series of the 3 best covered call stocks we're using for 2022, one of them will be the poor man's covered call. Now, give me a little bit of runway here. I am going to show you a couple trades, but today's best stock for 2022, selling premium, writing covered calls, is the poor man's covered call. Now, we're going to talk about that in detail, largely because for 2022, I'm creating a $100,000 poor man's covered call portfolio, and I'm going to be looking for trades all year long. I've created a tracker for which I believe is one of the most popular poor man's covered call trackers on the internet. Well, I've added to that, and I've now set up a poor man's covered call initial trade setup that ensures we're profitable with our very first trade if our shares are taken away. That is one of the biggest questions I have. How do I determine a good trade setup? Well, I'm going to show you that tracker today, but more importantly, I want you to stick around because 2022, we're going to talk about how we put real money on the table, income in retirement, income to pay some bills, live the good life. If you're 30 years old, 40, 50, 60, you'll want to stick with me because as we get into 2022, I myself, God willing, will be retiring, and all of this will be needed to put real money on the table. So I want you to stick around. So look, if you like anything you're hearing today, I want you to subscribe to the channel. It's right there and it's free. I come back every week, show you timely and relevant, give you great ideas to generate income that we can spend. So look, if you like anything you hear today, I want you to bang that like button. It lets me know you like what I'm doing. Now, what we're doing is this. We are going to use the poor man's covered call in 2022 more than we ever have. It's very important to understand how we set up the trade, how we manage our trades, and really what the goal is for this trade. The idea behind the poor man's covered call is this. Instead of buying the actual stock and upfronting all that capital, right? I'll give you a quick example. I'm going to show you a trade I did on PayPal. If I wanted to buy 100 shares of PayPal, I was going to need $18,400. I ended up doing a poor man's covered call based on my golden rules of the poor man's covered call, for which I'm going to show you those rules. Now, I only paid $9,300 to have control or to have the right to buy somebody's shares. And that is less capital intensive than the $18,400 I would have needed. Okay, we're going to talk about how this works, but that's the idea with the poor man's covered call. We're going to substitute 100 shares of a stock with a leap call option in the money, and we're then going to write near-term covered calls, making money as if we own the shares. And I'm going to show you the kind of money I'm bringing in. And my PayPal trade is actually profitable. Love it. And we're going to do this more and more in 2022. So I want you to stick around. Now, if you've never been to Facebook and you want to be a part of my group, it's important you go there because what I'm about to show you is this. I love coming home. I love relaxing, right? I got my beer. I go to Facebook and I always like to post something to the group. And the Facebook group is the Real CPT Dashboard. What I want you to do is go to Facebook, search the Real CPT Dashboard. You'll see my page. And what I want you to do is I want you to follow the page because I post up trades all the time. But yesterday I posted up my new poor man's covered call initial trade setup calculator for which anyone can download. If you go to cptdashboard.com, click free spreadsheets, scroll down, you'll be able to pick up the poor man's covered call tracker. In that tracker, you have steps, right? Your first step is to research a stock, then you input the data into the initial poor man's covered call trade setup. And based on the guidelines, if we have green cells, then this sets up for a good poor man's covered call trade. Then, of course, once we buy the leap, we're going to enter all that information into the tracker itself. I announced that on my Facebook group, The Real CPT Dashboard. And that's why I want you to join it, because I post up all these trades trying to keep you motivated, trying to get you off the couch, stay engaged, so we stop watching other people have success, okay? So go to Facebook, The Real CPT Dashboard, follow my page. Now I'm going to show you my initial trade setup for PayPal. So let me give you a little backstory. PayPal's high is $308. And over the past couple months, it has fallen off that it's down $130. Now PayPal is just one of those companies that is of the new age, right? It's of the digital age of banking. It's worth about $250 billion, and it is a juggernaut in this space. The new millennials use digital banking. They use Venmo, they use PayPal. The youth of this country uses online everything. We talked about this. When they buy a house, they go to Zillow. When they get their mortgage, they go to Rocket Mortgage. And when they bank, they're going to go to PayPal. So when a company like PayPal, which is always crushing their earnings, gives us an opportunity to get involved some $130 lower than its all-time high, well, PayPal's going to hit my radar. And that's exactly what it did recently when it fell to $184. Now, I let the members know that I was going to enter a poor man's covered call on PayPal. In fact, I did an email where I showed them how I was going to use Visa and PayPal, because both have been hit. Both have fallen tremendously. Now, these are great companies, right? You want to be invested in them. We can do our initial poor man's cover call setup to be profitable. The stocks are at their lows. If the stock moves higher, we can profit from that move. It's very important to have your initial poor man's cover call trade set up perfect so we can profit if the stock moves higher. So I sent this to the members. We talk about the poor man's cover call and why I want to do it on PayPal. And this is the kind of communication I send to the members. Go to cptdashboard.com, click upgrade dashboard. I give you 1 free month if you want to be a part of what you're about to see. And we do this all the time. You can see all these emails I've sent over here. It is endless. I don't know about you, but if you ever sign up for memberships like I have in the past, you do not get this many communications. I'm telling you what, over the past year, I've probably sent the members over 500 emails. Could you believe that? Plus all my real-time trades, plus all of my random emails where I show them things like this. So I want you to join me. 1 free month. Absolutely would love to welcome you aboard. Now, getting back to PayPal, it's real simple. PayPal has fallen. We're going to go ahead and look to do a poor man's covered call. So what I love to do is set it up, right? I have to convince myself that this is what I want to do. And in the case of PayPal, this is exactly what I did. I went ahead and bought the leap versus buying the shares. And I actually give my reasoning here. Spending $95 for the 95 Delta leap gives me almost a 1-for-1 $1 stock move with a $1 option move. Now, if you don't know how options work, each strike has a delta. And of course, 100 equals a 1-for-1, meaning a $1 move in the stock, you get a $1 move in that strike. Okay? So if you have the 95 Delta leap, then what happens, PayPal will move $1, and in theory, that option moves 95% of the $1 move, or 95 cents. So what we're doing is we're mimicking a stock purchase instead of buying the shares. So $18,400 I would have needed to own 100 shares. In this case, I'm going to buy that 95 Delta leap and pay $95. So I don't have to have as much capital, yet we mimic the idea that I own the shares. I can now sell 30-day covered calls. We love to use the 30 Delta, and we generate near-term covered call profits. So as you can see, we talk about PayPal being down, and we also talk about why I use the 95 Delta versus the 80 Delta. Typically, the 80 Delta is used, but what happens is the time value portion in the option is a bit too large. What we're looking to do with the poor man's covered call leap call option purchase is minimize the time value. That is the true cost of the trade, right? If I'm looking to trade a stock that's trading at 200, I buy the 150 leap call option, meaning I can buy somebody's shares at 150. And if that leap is $60 for me to have the right to buy somebody's shares at 150, well, do the math. The stock's trading at 200. I paid $60. There's $50 of real money in the option. I paid $10 for time. That's just too expensive, because even with a $200 stock, you're not going to get $5 premiums. So that means for a 30-day near-term covered call, we might have to write 3 or 4 covered calls to make back off. And if you remember earlier, I did this with UPS, where I was writing near-term covered calls, picking up little crumbs, and then on the 4th covered call, UPS spiked some $27 higher, and I didn't make the profit I should have. My initial trade setup was not correct, and in the end, I made less money. So it's very important to use a leap option that has less time value. And I'll tell you what, I have a new rule. Okay, if you're listening out there, I have a new rule. Big S&P type companies that trade sideways to higher, they're big, right? They're the biggest. My time value golden rule is now no more than 2%. The time value of the leap option cannot exceed 2%. And usually what that means, and you're going to find this out, usually what that means is that our first covered call pays for the time value. Okay? Now, mid cap, small cap, if you're going to use higher volatility stocks for the poor man's covered call, which I do not suggest, only because your 30-day covered call strikes might be challenged, right? These stocks move in $3 and $4 and $5 waves. You could write a near-term covered call and have the stock exceed your price, and now you have to manage the trade, and we may not have paid off the time value. Okay? Well, in that case, my mid cap to small cap time value golden rule will be 5%. If the leap call options time value represents more than 5%, I will not enter that trade. So for the big caps, 2% or less. For the mid cap, small caps, 5% or less. The key is keeping that time value down. That is the cost of every poor man's covered call leap call option. Now, real quick with the PayPal, as you could see, when I buy that 95 Delta Leap, the $4 near-term covered call trade pays for the time value. So literally my very first trade is profitable, and now it really depends where the stock goes. If PayPal moves higher, that's great. If it goes lower, we have time. I'm buying the January 2023 Leap. We're going to write near-term covered calls, the 30 Delta. We're managing our trades. I'm going to show you a trade with Rocket Mortgage, for which I've already done 5 trades. Okay, so it's very important, again, to keep the time value portion of your leap call option to the smallest as you can get it. Okay, so here is that poor man's covered call on PayPal. Again, this is a member's real-time trade, for which as soon as I do the trade, I will go ahead and send them this post. And by the way, you can see this in the phone app or the desktop app as well. Love the membership, man. It's keeping people engaged. I got 1 free month for you over at the website, cptdashboard.com. Go get it. 1 free month. Are you kidding me? Let's take a look. So November 30th, PayPal's getting crushed here, like I said. And again, we're seeing some basing here, right? So PayPal being one of these great companies, Wall Street's going to come back to it. It was just a matter of time. This is where earnings hit. And to be honest with you, it was trading sideways to lower. And that's what the overall market was doing. PayPal came out with some earnings. It didn't beat Wall Street's expectations, but yet they were still great. And here we are. Stock falls off because that's what Wall Street does. They take profits. Well, now it's basing, and now over the past couple of days since I've done this trade, PayPal has been up some $7 and down $7. So this thing is really trading wildly. This is why it's important to have our poor man's covered call initial trade set up perfect. Because if we buy that leap call option and then the stock spikes, well, we could be in trouble right off the bat. Now, that's what I ended up doing. I ended up buying that leap call option, for which only had the time value equaling less than 2%. And the very first trade will pay for the time value portion. Notice this is about a 31-day trade. I got paid $343. That's 3.69%. That's phenomenal based on the money invested. See, I've only invested $9,300 on this trade. So for me to make $343 up front on the very first trade on the money invested, that is supercharging your covered call return. And of course, with my real-time blogs, I actually love to show the members exactly what I'm doing, all aspects of the trade. I'm going to show you a Rocket Mortgage trade right now that really outlines how I'm doing this. Now, again, I'm going to use $100,000 in a poor man's covered call portfolio for 2022. I'm going to try to supercharge my returns using the poor man's covered call. So what I want you to do is this. Think about it. You have to set up your account, right? You have to have at least buying call option ability in your brokerage. You don't get that by default. So dial up your brokerage, ask them what you need to do the poor man's covered call. Chances are they know what that is. I believe it's level 3 or level 4. Do understand, when we buy options, there is tremendous risk. I need you to up your game, get your education before you do any of this. But see, it's so simple, you can learn it. And I'll tell you what, you too can have the same success we're having. Again, up your game, get your research, get your experience, and you too can do this with us. Now, here's my recent Rocket trade. Now, Rocket Mortgage has traded sideways, and that's really what I want to point out here. Rocket Mortgage, since I got involved with this, I think it was last February, when I told you I was going to generate $2,000 a month using 2,000 shares of Rocket Mortgage with the cash secure put, and if I was assigned shares, I would then write covered calls, generating $2,000 every single month. Well, Rocket has fallen since then, and it's trading as low as $15.50 and recently got as high as $17. So it's trading in a range. Well, I got involved with Rocket with a poor man's covered call trade, bought 5 Leap call options, and now I'm trading it. And this is my most recent call option. Now, understand, Rocket doesn't pay that much in premiums, so I'm trying to pick up little crumbs, right? But 1 crumb, 2 crumb. Next thing you know, we're talking real money. And I'm going to show you the real money I'm making here. This is Rocket Mortgage, a stock that literally has not moved. If anything, it's gone down. And John L. has made some 18% cash on cash using this money invested. Now, this is the trade. I made $190 covered call upfront premium. Now, this trade has 28 days. It expires December 31st. So I'll probably buy this back. We will look to roll it into January. With that said, I picked the 17 strike. So the stock is trading around 1570. This is the 28 delta. Now, remember, when we sell premium, the delta represents the chance of the stock price getting to our strike price. So based on where Rocket is trading when I place this trade, the 17 strike has a 28% chance of hitting it. Now that's important because if Rocket were to get some news and move higher, I'm going to have to manage this trade. Cannot let someone take my shares, largely because I'm profitable, but my Leap option is down. Now, I'm going to talk about that in coming videos. I paid over $7 for this Leap option I'm going to show you. I'm currently down on it. So even though I'm selling near-term premium, my Leap option's down, for which if I had to sell my shares, I would lose money on this trade. This is why it's very important that we know how to manage trades and roll them for more credits. Okay? It's very important you come back. If you want to learn this, I'm going to teach you all of this in 2022. Now, the recap is simple. I've done 4 trades. I invested $3,650 on my Leap option. As you can see, I paid $7.30 for that. That was the 95 strike at the time. Well, it's now trading for about $5.60. So I'm down on my Leap option. So it's important for me to manage these trades and not have my shares taken away. Since then, I've made $470. That's a 12.88% cash on cash gain, meaning I'm invested $3,600. I've made $470. That's 12% cash on cash. That doesn't even include this, for which now I'm even more profitable. But again, my Leap is down. But again, I have time. It's the January 2023 Leap. I'm going to continue doing the 30-day, 30 delta covered call all year. To be able to pocket close to $170 on average every single month using an investment of $3,600, I'm telling you, the Poor Man's Covered Call gives you small ball players a chance to get in the game, get your experience. See, all of these trades are real covered call trades. When you step up to the big game where you are investing 100 shares in PayPal, $18,400, you'll know how to write covered calls, making that real money, that income we put on the table. This is your part-time job. Whether you're 30, 40, 50, 60, it doesn't matter. Learn the covered call strategy, and you can actually make this a part-time job. Hundreds of thousands of people around the world use the selling premium strategy. It isn't just me. This is a fabulous way to make income and not go to big box 9 to 5 in retirement. And one last thing before I let you go. If you go to cptdashboard.com, click free spreadsheets, you're going to be able to download this tracker. In this Poor Man's Covered Call tracker is the Poor Man's Covered Call Quick Calc Leap Covered Call Setup. Now, this is the initial trade setup calculator. Now, I'm not a bag, and I don't just take credit when credit is due somebody else. Very similar to the Covered Call Advisor, where the Covered Call Advisor, he has a process for which he does covered calls plus dividend capture for a great covered call dividend capture strategy. He has 10 bullet points or guidelines for which he uses, and I integrate that into my game to up my game. The Covered Call Advisor is a great blog site. Google it. The initial Poor Man's Covered Call trade setup has a formula, and one of the covered call gurus, Ellman, came up with. He has an idea of how he wants to set up his initial trade setup. I went ahead and blended in some of his idea with what I do. And it's a fabulous exercise in doing our research and trying to get closer, right? Trying to get closer to the perfect trade setup. Hey, look, there's always risk and nothing's perfect, but when we can minimize that risk, we want to do it, right? So Google Ellman, he talks about the Poor Man's Covered Call. In fact, he has a book on it. That inspired me to create my free quick calculator for the initial setup. And if you plug in all of the information as the spreadsheet shows, you're going to get a green response or a red response. And just remember, keep that time value portion of your leap call option as minimal as possible. In this case with Boeing, as you could see, I picked the 105 strike. It's trading at close to 200. I picked the 105 strike. I would have paid $97.30 for that leap call option. It's the 95 delta. Look at the time value. It's less than 2%, and that's $3.80 of the leap call option price. You plug in your very first covered call trade, and you'll see how many trades it's going to take to pay off that time value portion. Hey, I also have my golden rules for Poor Man Covered Call trading over here. So again, go to CTP Dashboard, free spreadsheets, download your free copy. I don't sell you nothing. This is a tool you want to keep handy, because once you make that leap purchase, you're then going to want to go over to the tracker itself and plug in all of your info to keep track of when you're profitable. Okay? Get excited. Do it, and I'm pulling for you. Hey, look, be safe, be healthy, most important, be lucky. Until next time, may all your Poor Man's Covered Calls be profitable.